Hey, thank you, Mark, very much for that wonderful and informative presentation. Very helpful to me, and I hope to our audience as well. Thank you. I will be managing your chat box today, and as Sherry said earlier, I am Eric Lane, and I work with Versant and very closely with our channel managers our teams in the Philippines with both Werk as well as Teledevelopment, who's been our partner for many years. Let me go ahead and start turning to some of these questions. I will also be very soon putting into the chat box some contact details for Werk in the Philippines. I know that we'll be in touch with you, all of you, soon after this presentation, but just in case you want to reach out to us first or want our contact details, I'll be posting those in the chat box. So please feel free to post your questions in the chat box, and I'll ask them and help organize them for Mark. If you would like us to mention your organization, please indicate that which organization you work with, and I'll mention that. If you prefer to remain anonymous, that's also fine, and I'll ask your question all the same. So again, thank you very much. We'll start with some first questions we have here, Mark. Let's see, this one is, how important is social media to your recruiting?
That is a great question, and I can answer that in one word: very. We all interact with our friends, family, colleagues through social media. It's our online community. So it's vital we tap into that network to source quality talent. So really leveraging social media is super important to any recruiting strategy.
Okay, thank you. This next one is, could you recommend an app or tool that is good for mobile recruiting that you discussed? Could you recommend an app or tool that is good?
Well, we talked about the tool from Pearson called Hire.me, and really the interesting part about the tool is that it's mobile-centric, but it can be also used on web. But it's a very short, clean, automated, seamless process, and applicants love to sort of go through it. So when evaluating any tool or solution, I would first look at what is the candidate experience, and is that an engaging experience, or do candidates like to apply through that tool or whatever recruiting solution you choose? Because that's super important. You have to have a application process that is seamless, automated, quick, easy, simple for the candidate. If the candidate does not like applying for a job using that tool, you're not going to be successful getting a lot of great candidates.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And here's a question that I can answer. The question is, will there be a recording of the presentation that we can save? There will be a recording of the presentation that will be distributed directly by Werk to you. If not this week, then very, very soon they'll be getting that recording to you, so yes. Here is a question I think more for you, Mark. It is, because the tool is mobile, it can be prone to cheating, and i.e., for example, having someone else take the mobile assessment for you. Can you maybe let us know a bit about how that is checked or how security might work in this case, Mark?
Sure. I can refer to some of the security features within the Hire.me solution. And there are many. And let me just stress one thing. There is no magic bullet to eliminate all cheating. But the way that we approach the process or this challenge is by looking at different unique features, such as taking screenshots of the candidate as they go through the process. We use micro assessments that are very short in nature, and they're all timed. So it's very difficult to try to ask your friend a question or what have you, because they're all timed. The other thing we do is that we prevent screen sharing, or if you want to project your screen to another device or have someone else take it. The other part of our security features is that we track all your behavior. So if you are going in and out of the app or you're doing things that are suspicious, we have a way to flag you. So with the hiring organization, when you look on the dashboard, there will be a red flag basically next to your name if you've shown any of these suspicious behaviors. And we have a sophisticated proprietary scoring algorithm to kind of score that suspicious behavior and also how we score our assessments. The other thing to note is that because you're using what we call micro assessments, say that person did cheat or have their friend take the assessment, and then they come in for an interview. Well, you could very easily push them a 2 to 3 minute assessment just to confirm that they are the one that took the assessment. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of strategies where you can prevent cheating or impersonation or whatever you want to call it, or have someone else take the assessment. Because, again, there is no magic bullet, but really it's about collectively using these features that we build into Hire Me, which I'm proud to say we have not seen a lot of that because of these features. And the other thing we do is that we have a camera on you at all times. And so we play there's a little psychology at play here that if you feel like you're being watched, you're less likely to cheat or have someone else take the assessment. So those type of features are how we handle the cheating or the impersonation challenge. And it's all going to get better, right? As well as that you can have folks take it on in real time where you're proctoring or you're right there with them too. So again, as technologies get better and better and better, these other features are going to get better and better. And, there's always going to be candidates out there trying to cheat the system. But really, if you have a very structured process, it's going to be harder and harder to do that. Eric?
Great. Thank you very much. We have a question box that is beginning to really get populated here, so I'm just going to move right on. The next question is, for mobile recruitment workflow, will it still require human intervention or just artificial intelligence? I'll repeat that one. For mobile recruiting workflow, will it moved over to my answer box. For mobile recruiting workflow, will it still require human intervention or just AI?
That's a great question as well. And I'm going to use an example for one of our clients or customers that we work with, Amazon. Amazon, they're in the retail business, but really they're in the package delivering business, right? Where say 7 to 10 years ago, they had about 6 to 7 people handle a package from the warehouse to your delivery, to the consumer's door. Now they got that down to basically a person and a half, I think, where there's 1.5 to 2 people that handle that package from the warehouse to the delivery of that package. That's where we see the trend in recruiting, where you can leverage AI to kind of automate that process and sort of have an if-then-then statement, if you can think about it that way, where a candidate will come in, they'll apply for a certain job, and they may not have the requisite skills for that job, but they still may be a talented person, smart, intelligent, and maybe a great employee. So now you can say, okay, you don't have these skills related to this, but because of this assessment, we know you have these skills. And these skills are aligned to this job, and let's see if you can want to apply it to that position and take an assessment and authenticate the required skills for that position, and kind of leverage AI to kind of take you through this journey of trying to find the right fit for you as a candidate with an organization. Because a lot of organizations are trying to, what I call, increase their yield. Typically, on average, you hire about 1 out of 10 applicants. And some organizations like Amazon or Google are about 2%. So they hire 2 out of 100. But in other organizations, maybe a little higher. But if you can increase that yield, you're going to save a lot of time and money, but you're also going to fill positions faster. And so it's critical because you spend a lot of money to acquire that candidate or have that candidate apply to your job. Now, it would be a shame if they applied for one job, they didn't have the requisite skill, or their resume didn't show the requisite skills or experience, and now you cycle that person out of the organization. You kind of lost that person. You kind of wasted it. Imagine if you could then, if that person, you could qualify if that person is a good fit for that position. If not, you can push them through AI to some other assessment, other position to find a great fit. And so now you've taken more bite of the apple, per se, where you can have a candidate apply, they can take some assessments. Okay, they're not great for that role. Maybe they don't have great verbal skills, but maybe they have great written English skills. Maybe they're better for a chat customer service person. Or maybe they don't have great English language skills at all, but they're very analytical, very smart. Maybe there'll be a great admin role and so forth. So again, you don't want to lose good candidates, and this is a way to leverage AI and make that process automated. So I see it becoming more and more automated, only to the point where there should be a process where you go through, where you leverage AI and go through a recruiting process. And at the end, there's a person that makes a hiring decision, yes or no. That's where we see the market going. So to answer your question, absolutely. There's always going to be some human interaction, obviously, but we see that less and less, and more leveraging AI to kind of automate these workflows.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. Are there any type of key roles or special types of jobs or job descriptions that you think marry very well with mobile recruiting? Are there any type of key roles you see that go very well with mobile recruiting?
Yeah, that's another great question. I see this more of like a matrix, where it's sort of like certain industries, retail, customer service, BPO, healthcare, that have this large volume of employees that are doing sort of a lot of these administrative customer service or customer interaction roles. And then I also see sort of, and the level of role being a lot of entry level, college grads or even high school grads, where they're coming into the workforce and you really don't have a lot of great data on that person, whether they're a high school student or even they're a college grad. All you have is their test scores, maybe they had an internship. But you don't have a lot of great data on these folks. So I'd say that is another area where these are entry-level roles in certain verticals, and where you're getting a large volume of applicants, where you need to kind of sort, filter, and rank these folks very quickly, because you're getting so many applicants and you want to fill so many of these entry-level roles. So it's really about entry-level roles with certain verticals, retail, customer service, BPO, healthcare, financial services, things like that, and really about understanding the specific roles within those verticals.
Okay, great. Well, I'm just going to keep going down the list here. We have two questions that kind of, I think, speak to different perspectives here that I wanted to ask kind of in combination, so I'm kind of weaving these two together. On the one hand, we see how mobile will be changing recruiting in the future, and kind of like how do you see mobile changing recruiting in the future? Then on the other hand, we have a question being asked that says, what happens to the relationship we are trying to build as a recruiter if we invest more time in mobile recruiting instead of inviting them over to our office? So the way I see it, it's kind of like the old school way of doing it through relationships and getting to know people in your office, and then there's a change that mobile introduces to the future. So kind of a two-part question, and contrasting the different ways in which recruitment could take place.
Yeah, I think really to kind of marry those two questions, and I can frame it this way, is that mobile recruiting and leveraging technology, whether it's AI, mobile technologies, video interviewing, assessments, these micro assessments that we're utilizing today, and really this in the now sort of era that we live in, and especially as related to the millennials. So really that's not going to change. That's going to get more automated, and it's going to leverage more technology where, most kids today, they really don't pick up a phone. They just send a text to their friend. They're always texting. They don't really talk on the phone anymore. So we see that already with the millennials. So I think that's this automated, and yes, I agree with the person that it's going to be less personal. But I can also frame it another way, where now you can be even more personal if you sort of filtered out 85-90% of the folks that are unqualified. Imagine a world that if you have to hire 10 people and you got 1,000 applicants, if you can get down to 20 within 2 clicks of a mouse within 24 hours, now you can really sit down and get to know 20 candidates. You can push them another assessment. You can invite them in for an interview. You can have multiple interviews. You can have your team members interview each candidate because they're smaller. It's a finite talent pool, what we would call it, right? A finite talent pool, so you can more robustly evaluate those and make better decisions. Oh, by the way, you can leverage data too. So you have all this data you collected. You got down to these 20 folks, and now you can really get to know those 20 people much better than if you're trying to get to know 100 people through the old ways, where you want to try to interview people and say maybe you are looking at 100 candidates. Here you can look at 80% less, but you can spend more time with them. So it's really about less is more in this case. So that's how I would frame that. So it's not really about losing sort of touch of that personal relationship with candidates as a recruiter, but it's really about you spending your time, and I would say more wisely, with fewer candidates, but you can spend more time with that person.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Eric?
You mentioned I have one candidate here, one attendee here is asking the question, can you elaborate more about the micro-assessments or the challenges? I know you mentioned micro-assessments just a moment ago and earlier. Could you elaborate a bit more on what micro-assessments or challenges are? Sure.
Micro-assessments is basically a ability to assess someone, giving them a test, or it's almost like giving them a quiz. But the way that we've developed these micro-assessments, we can collect valuable data. And you have to remember, we want to make a screening decision. We want to kind of make a sort of pass-fail or a green light, red light, as I like to say. So really, we need data to make that decision, but we don't need a ton of data, right? So all we're saying is that we can offer you these short assessments on a wide range of discrete skills, so you can assess a multiple levels of skills and different skills in a very quick time frame, because these micro-assessments are only 2 to 3 minutes, and so you can assess problem-solving skills. And you don't need to say, all right, that person is a 95 in problem-solving. All you need to say is that they are proficient, as opposed to, say, basic, or they need certain some remediation and problem-solving skills. So it's really about you want to deliver these assessments, because the days of someone sitting in front of a computer taking a 45-minute to an hour assessment are done. Millennials, these job candidates, everyone from 18 to 35, they are not going to be completing a 45-minute assessment unless they're really at the end of the funnel, where they're looking to get hired, and it's the last assessment they have to take to get the job. So really, you can't present or can't provide these long assessments. So what we developed are kind of like, we broke them up, right? We took a 45-minute and we broke them up in discrete skills, and we made them small in timing in 2 to 3 minutes. So again, we can collect a lot of data on a lot of different skills in less time, because we really just want to make a pass-fail decision at this time at the top of the funnel, because we want to sort of just filter out all the unqualified folks that are just applying for jobs because they want to see where they can sort of get past the resume filter or get into the next stage, and a lot of them have no reason to apply for the job because they don't have the job skills or the experience, and they're just applying because they're trying to take the shotgun approach to finding a job. And so because they made it so easy to apply for a job these days, that you need some sort of way to screen them very quickly and to collect data, and these micro-assessments is the answer. As long as they're engaging, they're short, and they are able to collect valid data. I'm not sure. Hopefully I answered the question. I know there's a long-winded approach to answer that question, but it's really about the value of delivering these micro-assessments and be able to collect valid data in a short period of time.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was a great answer. Well, we have one participant who's made 3 entries around the same topic, so I know she really wants me to talk about it. So it's a question around social media, and especially in the context of negative comments. So I'm just going to read out these 3 parts. So speaking of social media, what is the best practice when dealing with negative comments or trolls? Because these negative comments are impacting the brand of the employer, and it poses a risk that the business may not be willing to take. So kind of around social media, and all we hear these days about negative comments or trolling that can happen with social media, and how that can be, how companies might feel about getting deep into social media in this current age.
Really great question, and there's not a clear-cut answer to that question. But how I would answer it is this way: is that I view social media as a great way to interact with not only your employees, potential job candidates, with customers, vendors, what have you, your stakeholders around your organization, and really these job boards or these review sites. That's a part of being on social media. And how I would attack that is, the answer is definitely not to use social media to recruit job candidates. The answer is do a great job in doing it. And where you have 10 times more positive reviews than negative ones, and that tends to kind of outweigh, because if you have 20 positive reviews and you have 1 or 2 negative ones, the average person is going to look at all the reviews and they're going to say, wow, a very, very small percentage of their job candidates think it's a crappy company to work for. They didn't like the application process, whatever their complaint is, or what they did not like. But I don't think not utilizing social media to recruit is the answer. And I think the answer is, you just got to be better. You have to create a seamless, automated, very efficient, engaging workflow, and then the results will take care of itself. You can't be afraid to really leverage the digital world of social media, because it's super important and it allows you to reach so many more people and promote your brand. And it's really about, this is the world we live in now, right? So it's the 100% digital world, and you have to operate in that. And the way to operate that effectively is to create such a great experience for the candidate that everyone's going to like it, and very few people are going to not like it. Eric?
Very good. Thank you very much for that, Mark. We have a question here about passive job seekers, and the question is, passive job seekers are hard to find and engage. Is mobile able, and how does mobile address this?
That is true, but the value of passive job candidates is huge, because they are the ones that are most experienced. They have the better skills. They're employed now, so you have a data point on their employability. And leveraging mobile allows you to reach these folks in a couple ways. One, it makes it easy for them. They could be on their coffee break, and they could just be surfing the internet. Again, they're passive. They're not looking for job opportunities to apply for, but they say, oh, wow, I didn't know so-and-so is hiring a sales manager. Let me take a look at this. And then when you present a mobile-centric application process and you have these cool micro-assessments, and they can conduct a video interview, and they can apply and go through a seamless process, and you've engaged them in that, you have a higher probability of that passive job seeker looking to apply or to look at your available job opportunities than if you didn't have a mobile process, because they wouldn't be looking at your site. The other part is that you want to create this impression, right? Perception is reality, especially in branding. You want to create this perception that your organization is a better place to work than where they're working at now. It's that simple. And so if you can promote your brand and show and illustrate that you're an innovative company that using mobile recruiting technologies, and you're using assessments in a unique way, these micro assessments, You're empowering the candidates to have a say if they get onto the next stage. You have an automated way to schedule an interview. You get it. You get the millennials. They're going to be very impressed and they'll be like, wow, I want to take a closer look at this company. So it's really about just presenting your brand in the right way and really having an engaging process and make it easy to passive job seekers to apply, because they're not looking to for work. They're not looking to apply to new opportunities, but you kind of present an offer where it's too good to pass up, or they're intrigued, and you could do that with Facebook ads as well and so forth. And again, you can just push them a short assessment and say, hey, do you think you're a good fit for XYZ Corp? Take our assessment. Well, that's interesting. Wow, they're giving me a micro assessment, 2-3 minutes, and they're telling me if I'm a good fit for the organization. You're going to engage them. And that's really a great way to reach these passive job candidates. Eric?
Great. Thank you. Yes, well, I see we have about 10 minutes left. I'm going to ask maybe no more questions directly on the platform right now, if we could, and I'm going to also request that maybe we address those questions directly to the Werk team. I did broadcast to the group the details on how to contact Werk, and I'll go ahead and close with these 2 questions here, Mark, if you don't mind. One question is, how can our company speed up its adoption of mobile recruiting, and what ways can we use to convince our leaders in our organization that this is the best way to go?
I have to say, these are amazing questions. Well, I think the first thing is to speak with professionals that are in the space, whether it's contacting the folks over at Werk, at TDS, or at Pearson, and you're more than willing to contact me. I think on the website there's my email. And that's where it starts, where you want to talk to a professional and kind of get their sort of take on where your recruiting is, where you could deploy these mobile recruiting tools and solutions, how they fit in what you're doing now. Because again, as I mentioned, you don't want to go too far left or far too right where you're upsetting your recruiting process, because you have a process that is in place, it's working for you, and now you just want to kind of add a little bit more leverage by utilizing mobile technology, see if you can make that better, get more candidates, get better candidates, what have you. The other thing is about how do you convince your senior sort of leaders to say, hey, this is something that we should spend some money on. That's what I'm hearing. And that's a tough thing to persuade senior management to spend some money on new technologies that you are purporting that are going to save time and money, but they don't know that for fact. And again, this is a new sort of solution and new area. And really it's about taking baby steps where I know if you speak to the folks at Werk or at Pearson, they can work with you to implement a pilot, a small sort of case study where you maybe even assess current employees, or maybe you assess maybe some college grads, applicants, or maybe campus recruits, just a small subset where you can look and really get a feel for the tool Hire.me and understand really what the value prop, and have some data points to go back to your leadership and say, hey, just want to let you know, I usually go out to campus and it takes me 6 weeks to get 100 candidates. Well, I used Hire.me and I got 100 candidates in 24 hours. I think we should look at this solution or solutions like this to implement within our recruiting. What do you think? I would take that approach because if you don't provide sort of the data behind the request and give them an impetus to say, okay, yeah, let's take a look at this new mobile technology, or this new recruiting solution, Hire.me, I think you're going to really fall on deaf ears. But if you provide them with some real data and say, hey, we should look at this because because the time that I recruited 100 candidates went down by tenfold. That's a real data point there that any leadership would have to take a look at. So I would suggest that's how you do it. Really, you speak to your folks that are experienced in this area, whether the folks over at Werk, TDS, Pearson, and again, you're welcome to contact me via email, and then sort of develop a sample pilot, a use case where you can get some data points to prove your case to leadership that this is something that you should look to implement. Eric?
Okay, thank you very much. And our last question here has to do around competition right now, as you see in the Philippines. And I'll ask the specific question, and then I think I'll try to elaborate on it just for clarity. So the question is there already an existing platform that combines job seekers, assessments, interviewing here in the Philippines? I think what the question's trying to get at is, what type of global competition have you seen in the recruiting space for this type of product? If one of our participants wants to kind of get first advantage among the competition that exists to start using this product, what other similar types of tools have you seen in the market that might exist, such as what you have with HireMe?
Yes, well, I can answer it this way, is that I've seen a lot of companies that do specific things, whether they're assessments, whether they're video interviewing, whether they are recorded responses, whether they're job boards, where they have some filtering on resumes. But I have not seen a unified solution such as Hire.me, where we're trying to kind of handle a lot of steps in that recruiting continuum, which is really about source, screen, and select. We're trying to really Uberize, if I can use that word, the recruiting continuum and automate that using technology, using AI, using assessments, where you can effectively have lots of applicants apply, filter out them seamlessly, and get down to a finite talent pool where you can more robustly evaluate, and then really about three key things here, three key metrics that we're really focused the solution towards is time to hire, cost to hire, and the third, which I could argue is most valuable, is time to offer. Because again, if you can go through and assess a candidate quicker than your competitors, you can then offer that candidate a job before your competitor. You're more likely to hire that top candidate. So that's a critical matrix, and leveraging mobile and a unified solution such as Hire.me will allow you to do that. Eric?
Okay, well, thank you very much. That closes the questions that we have, but of course I would encourage any questions you might have to be directed at Werk. They'll be getting back in touch with you also with more information and as follow-up, but please, we do encourage these questions. We've had several of them, about 15 different questions this morning, and I think these have all kind of helped elaborate on your presentation, Mark. So thank you very much for the questions, everyone. If you happen to be in the U.S. market, there is contact information that I can send you as well. In fact, I'm broadcasting that right now. It should be in the chat box. If by chance you are in the U.S. market and looking to inquire from the U.S. market, just let me make sure that was posted. And you can contact the information there for both email and telephone. I'll check to make sure that got broadcasted here in a moment. But I want to thank you very much, Mark, for your presentation and the information it contained.
Sure. I just want to add one thing. For folks that are thinking that this is sort of really complex technology, it's going to be hard to implement, there's going to be a lot of heavy lifting, it's really not the case. If you just reach out to Werk, TDS, Pearson, or myself, we can set you up with a no-cost pilot very quickly. Within 24 hours, you'll be up and running. There's no heavy lifting. You get an admin username and password, and you can start deploying the HireMe app right away. So there's not a lot of heavy lifting. So I don't want folks to be sort of afraid or thinking that it's like this really complex technology. It's going to be hard to use. It's super, super simple. It's easy to deploy, and we can set you up literally within 24 hours for a pilot, no close pilot. And I would suggest you contact Werk or TDS or Pearson.
Great. Well, again, thank you very much, Mark, and to all of our audience and our colleagues in the Philippines. Thank you very much, and hope you have a great day.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
This does conclude our webinar.